Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Corry Matthews, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Corry Matthews here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another intriguing woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hi, I'm Corry Matthews. I am a fitness, nutrition, and hormone expert, and I am based in Los Angeles. I'm really grateful to be here and get to share my story. So my story starts back in 2017. I just mentioned that I live in LA, and I had just moved from Virginia. We had been living in Virginia for 14 years, and I moved across country with my husband. He grew up in California, and he so badly wanted to move back here. And so after a little grumbling, I said, okay, I will take our kids and we will move across the country, and I will leave everything I've built in Virginia and move with you. And so we moved here, and he was getting involved with work and the kids were getting in school, and I wanted to get to know people. And so we had some friends that we had just met, and they said, do you want to go to the beach with us? And I said, sure. What great way to meet friends, to connect with other people right before the kids go back to school. And so I remember it was a gorgeous summer afternoon. You know, you've got the beautiful blue water of California, and we'd gone down to the beach, and there was a whole bunch of women there and all their kids. And I had just gotten introduced to all of these amazing women, and they said, you know, this is Corry. She just moved from Virginia. She's a former bodybuilder. She does fitness and nutrition. That's what she does every day. And I remember talking to these people, and, you know, we were all laughing on the beach, getting to know each other, still feeling a little uneasy because this was the first time meeting these people. And I remember in that moment, I looked out to the ocean, and there was my daughter struggling in the water. So as moms, you've probably felt that moment when all of a sudden you know that your child is in danger. And I remember looking at her going, she's struggling to breathe. You see her bob up under, you know, come out of water and then go under the water and then come back up again. And in that moment, in that most important moment of my daughter's life, when she's struggling to breathe, I hesitated for a moment. I stopped. And the reason why I stopped is because in that moment, I felt that in order to go into the water, I needed to take off my cover up and go in and save her. I don't know why I thought I couldn't just jump right in and go and get her, but I paused in that moment because I felt like a fraud. And I felt like if I took off my cover up, everybody on that beach would see that this fitness and nutrition coach that they had just been introduced to was overweight for what I should be. I was 20 pounds overweight. I wasn't sure what was going on. I had been struggling with all the advice, the fitness, nutrition. I'm the expert. I've gone to years of school for this. I should know what to do. And in that moment, I found myself, while my daughter was struggling to breathe, saying, I can't take this cover up. Everyone is going to know that I don't know what I'm talking about and I don't know what I'm doing. Now, I don't say this to scare you or make you worried, but I find this in my line of work that I do, that women are holding themselves back from doing things that they need to do because of their health. And I find this the most with women that are in their 40s and 50s. Now, before I go on and tell you much more of my story, know that in that moment, a junior lifeguard swooped in, picked my daughter up, and she was standing next to me. And I will say this, that now since moving to California, my daughters have not done not one, not two, but 3 years of junior lifeguards to ensure that there's never a moment like that again where this mama has to worry about them. But it really got me thinking. And so at that moment, I remember thinking, I need to figure out what's going on with myself. And so I did what every single person does when something isn't working and you go to your doctor. And so I went to my doctor. I was 40 and I said, I think something might be wrong with my hormones. I don't know. Maybe it's my thyroid. Maybe it's I've got prediabetes. I don't know what it is, but I said, I am struggling. And I said, I'm a fitness and nutrition expert. I have a master's in sports medicine, a bachelor's in exercise physiology, a dozen certifications, and I can't figure out why I gained 20 pounds and I can't lose this weight. And so the doctor did a battery of tests and she said to me, all your hormones are normal. Everything is normal. And I remember looking at her and saying in that moment, well, then we need to do something because I am this close to committing suicide. I said, I can't handle it. I said, I lay up in bed at night thinking about the fact that how is anyone ever going to trust me because of the fact that I myself can't lose the weight. And so she said, let's put you on antidepressants. Let's put you on some medicine. And so I left the doctor's office on my 40th birthday, armed with antidepressants. And I went home and called my best friend and my business partner, Dr. Stacia Kelly. And I cried on the phone with her. And I said, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know how to fix me. And at that point, she said, I think it's our hormones. And so we spent the next year diving into everything, trying to find out what we could about hormones and the connections to weight. Now, this was 8 years ago. This was in 2018. No one was talking about perimenopause and menopause at this time. And so we dove into the science. We asked every gynecologist, every doctor, every nutrition coach that would talk to us, what is the connection between hormones and weight gain and women in their 40s. And we started to figure it out. We started to figure out that when your estrogen and progesterone start to change, that it ties directly into your insulin. So we're finding that women now have insulin resistance in their 40s because when estrogen declines, it causes insulin resistance. When your insulin resistance goes up, then all of a sudden you start having issues with your thyroid and your cortisol. And for anyone that's been listening to social media or the internet, you know that your insulin and your thyroid and your cortisol are your main metabolism hormones. So we did all the work. We developed our 21-day nutrition reset that we use now. I lost 25 pounds. Stacia doesn't really look like she needs to lose weight, but she lost 65 pounds doing our program. And she basically fixed and put in remission her Hashimoto's and her celiac disease. And I remember right around my 41st birthday, I went back to the doctor and I said, I need you to test my hormones because I've done a lot of work. And she said, yeah, I can tell you've lost 25 pounds. And you know what? My hormones were still normal. And so this is where that education is so important because I have women that call me all the time and they say, I saw your journey. I saw what you did. How did you do it? How does it work? Because these are the same women that say, I don't want to be in pictures with my family anymore. They're the ones that don't want to take off the cover up. They don't want to stand in front of boardrooms or they don't want to stand on stages and talk to people anymore because they tell me something is going on and I have gained weight. And so my mission is really to work with these women because what happens in our 40s and 50s, not only is it perimenopause and menopause, but this is also when most women are hitting the top of their career. They are the CEOs, the COOs, they are the leaders, the movers, the shakers of our world. And so these women cannot afford to step back because of something going on with their health. And so I really want to focus on how do I help these women? How do I get them out of the shadows? I have an example that I like to tell of my friend Sally, who came and reached out to me. She had just turned 50 and she was trying to figure out what was going on. She said, I'm in a male dominant field, but I've noticed that I'm really hot. Like, oh my gosh, hot, sweaty all the time. I find myself putting on weight, not feeling like myself, or I'll be mid-sentence and go, what was I saying to these people? And so she said to me, I need to figure out how do I get my confidence back? And the reality was what she needed to do to get her confidence back is she needed to fix her health. And so we spent time together. I focused on the foods and the nutrition and the things that she needs to do. So this is actual food. This isn't looking at supplements or drugs or anything like that. It's looking at the foods that she's eating. And she lost the weight. And she felt so much more confident, and she got back out there. And she got in front of the boardroom, and she got in front of all the salespeople that she needed, and she became the company's best salesperson that entire year. So the key for me here is that women cannot hide behind their health. So if you are in your 40s or 50s and something is going on with your health, don't just take the answer that you're just getting older or this is how things change, because it isn't. And there are women thriving into their 60s and their 70s and loving life. And they can't sit back, because otherwise the world is going to miss out on the very important things that they need to offer them.
Wow. What an incredible journey you've been on. And I'll tell you, Corry, every woman has a similar story, right? Especially the older we get, we look at ourselves and we think, gosh, I am not the person I used to be. But for that to happen to you, and now you're helping so many women as well, is absolutely incredible. So, how did your own journey with hormones and identity shifts shape the work that you do today? Having
I think
gone
it
through it.
was Yeah, I think it was really, if somebody that's this educated on it can't figure it out and can't understand it, with all of the stuff that I had gone to school with and all the stuff that I had learned, how is everybody else supposed to figure out about it? And it was, I felt like I wanted to retreat back. I didn't want to keep doing the work I needed to do. And I said, if I don't keep doing the work, if I don't show up, and if I don't share this message, how are women going to get it? And so I knew I needed to do it. And years ago in my 20s, I owned nutrition stores and I was a pro bodybuilder. But now I have women that knew me back then saying, hey, are you doing anything for us women in our 40s and 50s now that we're this age to help us stay healthy and in shape? And so if I let my own health journey hold me back, I wasn't going to be able to help the hundreds and hundreds of women that I've been able to help today.
It's so true. So, why do you believe so many women start shrinking in midlife?
I think they don't know what else to do. They just
Mm,
feel, I think society so many times, and I think I'm based in the US, and in the US, there's really this stigma that when women age, um, you become old and frumpy and no longer useful. And what I love is that the more research I've done with other cultures and other countries is that's not the case. Women are
mm,
seen as wise and they're cherished for their wisdom, and they
right.
want to be included. So I really see the stigma in the US. These women are just saying there's no other choice. Like, I'm just going to step back. And yet,
Mm.
some of the most important figures in history are women that are over the ages of 40 and 50, and they're quite literally changing the world.
It's interesting because in my culture, I'm from Zimbabwe, as you know, the curvier and fuller you are, the more attractive. So the whole body image thing is quite interesting from culture to culture as well.
Hmm.
Fascinating. Now, what are the biggest myths that women believe about weight gain and aging?
I I think the thing is that, whether it's media or whatever, that there's just this thing that we need to be, this way that we need to look. And it just causes people to do things that aren't necessarily healthy, that don't
Mhm.
necessarily make them happy. And one thing that I love about some of the women in their 40s and 50s is they start to develop this, I don't care what society thinks anymore. I'm going to do this my own way. I've lived to be 40 or 50, and I'm just going to celebrate where I'm at. And that's where I'm going for. And that's what I'm going to love and enjoy. And so I think that's so important. And I try to tell women is not to live up to these standards. What is it that they want for them? What is it that they want for their own health? Where do they see themselves and what do they want? And then how can I help them actually get to that? Instead of this, it has to be this, square box of what somebody wants. What is the
Yeah,
picture of health look like for them?
I love it. And the other thing that has helped me kind of reframe where I'm at is just being grateful for what's actually working within my body at this age, right? So I'm 59. And I wake up and I think, gosh, my heart is beating. I breathe and I don't even have to think about breathing. How many people are having health challenges where they can't do some of these basic things as well? So
Hmm.
we do need to reframe and be grateful for what's working and not just the aesthetics of what you look like. So, how does understanding your body change the way that you show up as a leader?
I think it gives you so much more power and so many tools to do that with if you understand what's going on. Um,
Um,
And it also for me, I know for me specifically as a leader, I want to stay active. I want to keep moving. And that for me helps me feel better. I have been someone that has struggled with depression and anxiety all my life. And
mm,
so I know a lot of times when I feel that rising up inside of me, I can go sit outside in the sun and breathe in deep or go for a walk. But I think the really cool thing is when I become vulnerable and let other women know that, in a space where I'm seen as a leader in the fitness and nutrition industry, that I suffer from those things too.
yes.
I'm a real human that has all these things that go on. And I don't feel like, I don't want to hide the struggles that I've had because I want other women to know that all the women that you see out there that look like they're succeeding, they struggle too. And so that's okay for
Um,
people to know. And I think it was more somebody once told me that people can't be failures. I had a business that went basically bankrupt and I felt like such a failure. And I had a mentor that said, people can't be failures. It's what you do with a failure and where you go from there that determines everything. And I was like, that's true. What I do with this is what
mhm.
determines everything.
I love it. And those failures are just the stepping stones to your success, right? You think about it.
Exactly.
It's not really a failure. It's just a learning. You learn something when something goes wrong. Love that. So, what does restoring agency actually look like in a woman's daily life?
I think it's just, first of all, I always tell women, what brings you joy? What makes you happy? What is that? And then from there, building on that, a lot of times people think about when they're doing this kind of stuff, it has to be hard or it has to be difficult, but it doesn't have to be.
No.
Ultimately, I think we all know if we want to improve our overall health or feel better, we kind of know what that is that we need to do, whether it's you need to drink more water, or you need to move, or you need to have less time on your phone or less screen time. And so I like to tell women, how do we pick one thing that we can focus on that makes us feel better? And then if you take that one thing and then that becomes a habit and it's
Yeah.
something that you put in your daily life, then you can add something else. I think too many times, and especially over successful, talented women, they're like, let's take on the world. Let's do everything and anything. Where if they just took one step, then they could make that right, decision to move forward for
Mm.
them. And then all of a sudden things start feeling better and it becomes simpler and easier and more on their own time than this is how it has to be done.
Yeah, those baby steps are important. So, how have you seen women transform beyond just physical health through your programs?
I think it's really the confidence. The confidence is incredible because you see
Mm.
women that all of a sudden they feel better. And so they take on challenges or goals, things that they thought that they were never capable of, that now, because they did something and they improved their health, they're like, I can do this now. I can go after it.
Mhm.
And so where they were meek and mild and, shy and never wanted to do anything about it, they take on brand new goals. And so there's women in their 50s and 60s that are like, you know what? I'm going to totally reinvent the wheel and I'm going to do this and I'm going to step out. And that is so incredible because, I'm 48 and I want to see women continue to do that. My aunt is 76 and I always tell her, I'm like, I want to be just like you when I grow up because
Mm.
she's so confident and she's just got this inviting personality and she's so fun to be around. And I'm like, that's the version of me that's living and healthy and happy is when you exude confidence in your life.
Oh, I love that. So, what role does community play in rebuilding confidence during midlife, do you think?
I think the key is that if we don't feel like so many women feel like they're on an island going through this. Nobody has it this bad, right? Nobody feels the way I do. But when you can talk to other women and find out that they feel the same way or they're going through the same things, I
Mm,
think it's even more so too when you can talk to women that maybe aren't in the beginning of midlife, but they've settled into midlife and they're happy and they really like where they're at, so that other women can see that and go, oh, okay, I'm going to come out of this better and I can come through this. And so having that community to build everybody up, it's also too, if we're talking about women here, it's nice to have a community of women that also will share all the things with the men in our lives and say, this is how we support the women and how we help them get through this. But it's really
wow.
important. And then the key is too, is that community is also sharing this and educating younger generations so that they can continue to do it even better than we've done it.
Oh, I like that. The next generation is very important. Now, you've been running bodybuilding shows for 15 years. What have they taught you about strength and identity?
That it's what you make of it your own in terms of strength and identity.
Mhm.
You look at bodybuilders, they are probably the fittest looking people on the planet, right?
Yes.
But they're not. They're not very strong. I mean, they might be able to lift a lot of weights, but the diet that they eat isn't the healthiest diet. And
Mm,
it's really, they are putting themselves into this uber competitive market in terms of bodybuilding, where everything is
yes.
picked apart and you're looked at that way. And so you can either let that break you down and make you feel unworthy of everything, or
Mm,
you can own your own and really step into it and be excited about who you are and excited about who you want to be. And then
yes.
again, it's if you love the sport and if you love what you're doing, it's sharing that with others to come behind you so that they can live in it and then they can have fun with it. That's one of the biggest things I learned is when I stopped being a competitor in the world of bodybuilding and started putting on events for new bodybuilders, just to be a part of their fun and their excitement and their joy in doing this
Yeah.
really is why I keep doing it.
Oh, I love it. That is so true and so such a good reminder. Now, what is Thrive South Bay and why is it such an important initiative?
So Thrive South Bay is based here locally in Los Angeles, and
Mhm.
it's myself and a really good friend of mine. So she is an entrepreneurship coach. So she focuses on young, brand new entrepreneurs or women in midlife that are saying, okay, I've been doing this for 25 years and now I need a change in my career. And then, of course,
Wow.
I focus on the health and wellness. So it's bringing women together in a time in their life where they need that support, that community to do the really big things that they need to do. It's women changing careers, it's women busting down walls and breaking through ceilings and, getting new promotions. And so while we're bringing a lot of topics to this group about health and education and those kind of stuff, again, it's just hanging out with women and being in the same room with these women that are overly ambitious and have really big giant goals that they want to go to. And when you're surrounded by, they always talk about like the 5 people you surround yourself with. So when we
Yes.
have a room with all those women that are all doing those amazing things, then it just makes you feel good. And quite frankly, I've lived here now for going on 9 years. I needed some friends, and I needed some friends that understood that I'm busy and I work and I have kids. And so I'm finding and building my best friends in this community.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Community is everything. So, why do you believe the world is at risk of losing women's voices during their most powerful years?
Because sometimes I think women are just, they're okay giving up. And when I went through perimenopause, I happily say I'm on the flip side of menopause and I've been done for 2 years. But when those hormones start changing and you are in a position where everyone depends on you and you feel like your whole body is failing out from under you, so
Mm,
many women just retreat. And I think science is showing up and they're showing women what we really need to do to fight back with what's going on with our bodies, what's going on
mhm.
with the change in hormones. And so I want women right now to hold on, to keep pushing through and keep going, because it's too easy for them to just say, I'm just going to sit in the back. I'm just going to sit back, because it's easier to sit back. And, there's this sense of vulnerability that you've got to have that comes with it. And the women that I see that are winning right now, they're the ones that are vulnerable. They're sharing what they're going through, and other women see that and they're celebrating them for sharing it.
I love it. Now, just before we started the interview, you told me that you're going through another health challenge. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So, bodybuilding, 25 years ago, I was competing in bodybuilding and I injured a hamstring. I tore a hamstring. And I think that was where I initially had a herniated disc. So my L4, L5 is herniated. The last 2 years, I've been struggling with a lot of back pain. And so I've been going from specialist to specialist, trying to figure stuff out. Around Christmas time, I went back and I said, I can't exercise. I can't work out. I can't do many of the things that I've been doing. And I said, something is really wrong. And so I saw another doctor and they said, let's get new MRIs, let's get new x-rays. And after that, they sent me to a specialist that does nerve testing. And if you've ever had nerve testing, it's one of the most painful things on the planet. Basically, they electrocute your legs and to see if your nerves are working. And at the end of it, this doctor said, I think you might have a broken vertebrae. And so at that point, I went back in and I said, okay, I think we need some more testing and other things. And so they took x-rays and they put the x-rays up on the screen. And so remember, my background is in sports medicine. So the second they put the x-ray up on, I looked at it and I said, my vertebrae is broken. I said, my L4 is broken. So there's the vertebral body and the spinous process that comes off the back of it. And it's just completely broken. And then from L4 up above, so part of my spine is actually slipping forward. And so we finally had a diagnosis for all the pain that I've been having for all of these last 2 years. And so I found a really great surgeon and she said, I can fix you. And that for me was incredible that I can be fixed, but it requires a fusion of L4, L5. And so actually, as I sit here, I will be having that surgery in 6 days. So.
Oh, wow. Oh, good luck with that. Good luck with that. It's
but
incredible.
I actually thought about, and I actually thought maybe I needed to reschedule with you. And then I thought to myself, a little voice in my head said, if you do that, you're hiding behind your health and you're not sharing what you need to share with other women so that they step forward and keep doing what they need to do. So the universe or God is telling me it's okay, Corry, we're giving you one more thing that you have to show up and step through to make happen.
I love it. Now, Corry, how can people find you? What kind of help are you giving women at this stage in their lives?
So you can find me on my website. So there's strengthandgracefitness.com. I also say, if you can spell my name right, so it's Corry Matthews. Corry, I say, is spelled like sorry, because I know there's so many spellings of Corry, but it's like sorry. So Corry, and Matthews is with 2 T's. But you'll find me on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all the different platforms. And one of the best ways that I help women is, we call it a detox. It's a 21-day reset, but really what we do is we help women, and it works for men too. Shh, just don't tell them. They'll just do it with you. But it's really helping them eat really clean, healthy food. So finding out, there's so much with our food today, especially in the United States. Like if you don't live in the US, more power to you, because you've got better clean food and it's totally different there. But in the US, we find that there's a lot of food that's just been tainted. And so figuring out which of those foods work for you and which foods don't, and how that plays into hormones. And even for women in their 20s and 30s, they're dealing with PCOS and infertility. And so it's looking at, what are these foods doing? And overall, they're helping with that whole laundry list of hormones that I said, with cortisol, thyroid, estrogen, insulin, and really looking at resetting those hormones to feel better.
Fantastic. Corry, is there anything else I should have asked you and I didn't?
I don't think so. I'm just such a huge champion for women and women's health and just getting out there, because women, you have to stay out there. You have to keep going. You cannot lose your voice. You cannot stop. And so if there is anything in your health that is holding you back from doing that, please take care of it, because we really, really need you to step out into the world and change the world and shine your light.
Fantastic. Corry, thank you so much for this interview and for coming online and sharing your story. And thank you to everybody who tuned in. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We're a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share these stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to help take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So if you are a woman who is going through that so-called midlife crisis, wanting to get yourself into shape, wanting to understand your body and your hormones, reach out and get the help from experts. We had Corry's website at the bottom of the screen. If you know someone else who needs this help, please tag them on this video. Share this on your social media as well so we can reach more women. I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Corry, thank you again for the interview.
Thank you so much.
Bye for now, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.